It's off. Can you see me? Okay, I'll put it back. I think I'm putting it back. This restaurant is just slow today.
afternoon. It's nice to see everyone here with us this afternoon. I'm Lori Smith, Chair of the Broadband Authority, and I would like to call our Tuesday, March 17th meeting to order. We'll just move right into our agenda. So authority members, you have the minutes from the January 20th meeting. If you have had a chance to review those, do you desire any additions, deletions, or changes to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval as submitted.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that carries. All those like sign? Okay, very good. Thank you all very much. We will move straight into project updates. Mr. Sandy.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. We have basically all River Street updates today, and so what we've proposed for this year is to kind of alternate between River Street updates 1 month, have Zytel give updates the following month, and kind of alternate as both of those projects are continuing to move forward. As you're aware, the end of last year, we wrapped up the Shentel projects, so we won't be having them come to give updates anymore. They probably appreciate that, and you guys probably do as well. But it's progress. That's correct.
That's right.
That's correct.
That's good.
We've got one behind us. So I've asked the partners here. So if you recall, this project is actually a regional project that is actually a West Piedmont project that includes Franklin County, Henry County, and Patrick County for this project. And then the other partners are obviously River Street Networks and American Electric Power, because this is a middle mile fiber project where American Electric Power is providing the middle mile fiber, and then River Street is kind of tapping into that fiber. So we've asked all three of them to come. I know Mike has to go to another visit, so he has to leave at 2:30. So we're going to let him go first, and then turn it over to, I think, Rob. A little different than the agenda. I think Rob Mann will go second, and then I think the Rob and Rob show, Rob Taylor will kind of close out the updates from River Street. So, Michael, thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Hi, Michael. Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you all?
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to give an update on the project. I know that there's been some frustration in the timeline, and I think you'll see some progress coming up very soon, start to see some connections being made. I'll be very happy about that. I'm actually, when Steve said that Shentel won't be coming back, I'm looking forward to that day when you say River Street and PDC won't be coming back because we're done.
Yeah.
But I've been pleased with the progress that we've been seeing in our monthly meetings. I think we're going to get to a point. I've seen there's sort of a point in these projects where engineering wraps up and construction starts, and then it really starts to ramp up. And I think we're right at that pivot point. So I expect that Franklin County will start to see folks being connected in the coming weeks and then throughout the rest of the year. I did want the authority to know that we have been in continuous communication with DHCD on this project. Because of our timeline creep, they're working with us to make sure that all of the locations that we plan to pass will be passed, and all of those residences can be connected to broadband. So they've been a good partner. They're helping to make sure that we're going to meet all of our outcomes. And with that, I think I'll hand it over to the Rob Show, as you mentioned.
And I think that you are at the PDC having this as an agenda item. Is it next week?
Yes, next Thursday. So we'll have River Street, their executive team, to talk to our commissioners and answer any other questions that from Franklin County's authority that may come up then.
So I would just open the floor. Are there any questions from authority members? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Okay, so next up should be Mr. Mann. Steve, is that the order you wanted to go in? Hi, Rob.
Hey, good afternoon,
How are
everybody.
you?
I'm well. Good to
Good.
be here. Good to see everyone today.
Likewise.
So we just have one slide, kind of give you a progress update. Green, we're completed those areas, and blue is in progress, and yellow will be next. So going through our Dickinson route, we have completed our testing, and we're going through the data. There's actually a meeting tomorrow to make sure the data is accurate, and then I'd say within the next week, we'll turn that over to River Street so they can begin their process, take a look at the data and start their process. On our Sago route, it's 24 miles of fiber that we've hung, working on testing right now and looking for late first quarter to start doing our testing on that. If everything goes well on our schedule, we're looking for about a mid-year date of turning that section over. On our Endicott route, where our tail splicing, we'll be ending that in the next couple weeks is what it's showing for us. And then by mid-second quarter, have our testing done. So that's where we are on Endicott, and that's 28.8 miles. Ingramville, our test splicing, having that ending mid-second quarter, and then our testing in the late second quarter, and looking for a turnover tentative date in the early third quarter of the year. So making good progress. So far, we've hung 102 miles in the county. With the make-ready work, there was 139 poles that were replaced. So it was pretty good amount of upfront work just to get the sections in good enough standards so it could have the fiber hung on it. And then our pop site is going along well. We're finishing up, well, in progress with the point of presence fiber install currently. So everything's moving on. Still got some work to do inside the cabinets and things, but it's moving on pretty well.
Great, thank you. Okay, does any authority members have any questions for Rob?
I got just one.
Please.
So when you say the end of third quarter, what month? Is that like, where are you starting your year off? I'm sorry on that.
January 1st, yeah. So
So we're looking at
so
October?
early
or
third
no-
quarter, yeah.
And then for Endicott, that'd be August, maybe?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, Rob, well, thank you so much for being with us.
Appreciate it.
We
Thanks,
greatly
everybody.
appreciate it, and we appreciate the partnership as always.
Yeah, and just to say, we are meeting with River Street weekly. We're meeting with the Planning Commission monthly, probably bi-weekly. So there's a lot of partnership going on in those areas. So.
I think Mr. Sandy may have something.
Yeah, I just wondered, and I don't expect you to answer off the top of your head, but I wonder if you could give us a number of the poles that have been replaced in the county as a result of the broadband project between the
Including
Shentel,
Shentel?
yeah, all of them. And again, I don't
I'll
expect you
report-
to answer
yeah.
right now, but
Yeah, I'll get back with you, Steve, because it was a tremendous
Yeah.
amount of new construction, which the tree clearing, all that, it's getting a more robust system. That's part of what these fiber projects that we're seeing is it's helping our system out, doing the right-of-way clearing and stronger, more robust pole system, so.
yeah, it should make it more reliable hopefully with better poles and less branches and
Absolutely.
trees and so
Yeah.
forth, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you could just get that to me at some point, I think it'd be good information.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob. We
Thank y'all.
appreciate you being with
Appreciate
us. Okay, Rob, our number 2, Rob Taylor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. So let me bring you up to speed where we're at. So here's a layout of the county for us by the serving areas: Dry Hill, Oak Level, Glade Hill, Sandy Level, and Snow Creek. On the left, you'll see a listing of things that have basically been completed, which is the installing the fiber tails and the splicing by AP. And so again, the fiber tail is they're bringing in the main line, and then they'll splice in our fiber tail that comes down the pole. And then at the bottom of the pole, we'll put a pedestal or a handhold, and then from there, run our feeds out to the homes and up and down the roads as a distribution off of the main line so that they provide us. They're completed the design of the Ingramville splicing plan. They've installed HVAC at the Glade Hill remote, installed power and conduits at the Glade Hill remote, and began the RSN permit design review for Dry Hill. What we're going to be working on mainly in March is the construction drawings for the Glade Hill CO. That's the central office. That's where our main equipment will be located at for Glade Hill. We'll also complete the design for the 40-mile stretch of what we call Central Office 5. That's there's several different routes. That's Route 5 going through Dry Hill. They also complete the permit design review for Dry Hill. We also will begin a LiDAR. So we have an engineering group that actually drives the roadway using LiDAR type equipment to validate locations so that we're making sure that we're actually getting habitable addresses in there, ones that might have been overlooked or ones that are on there but are actually chicken houses or barns or something else. And then we're going to begin the construction in the sandy level area as well. My slide is a little bit different than what you're seeing. This is the AEP slide. The slide I have here was a little bit older. The one that Rob just showed you shows that we had had some movement and that SAGO, the tail testing has started. This slide is a little bit older, and that was what was going to be happening, but it's already started. Again, where AEP stands, our understanding is they've completed in all build areas the design and permits. They've built out the main line in all the build areas. They're doing the tail splicing, and that's been completed in Dickinson. We're hoping to get that, as Rob mentioned, signed over to us in the next couple weeks. Once we do, then we'll be able to do our preliminary review of everything and then start running our lines to get people hooked up in the Dickinson area. AEP tail testing is going to start next in Sago, Endicott, and Ingramville, I should say. And then, again, we're waiting for the turnover to River Street for the Dickinson route. As far as what we're looking at, here is our projection on when we should be able to start seeing some movement on our part when it comes to, now this is in line with what AEP saying when they should have the stuff turned over to us, okay? So for the Sandy Level remote area, we're target to complete that in Q2 of this year. The permits are approved, construction drawings are finalized, contractor's been assigned. All we're waiting to do is get the final signatures for that to get the construction started. There's 357 passings in that area, and that's the breakdown between VADI 22 and VADI 23. Hold on, here we go. Next one is in the Glade Hill and Snow Creek remotes. Expect to get those started in Q2 with completion targeted to be done before the end of Q3. The Glade Hill remotes are approved, the construction drawings have been finalized, and the Snow Creek permits or drawings are in production. Those two locations will pass 1,474 locations, and here's a breakdown. For the Dry Hill and Washburn remote areas, we're expecting to get those started in Q3 with completion by the end of the year or Q4. The permit drawings are in production, and once we get those completed, then we'll go out and submit to VDOT for the permits for the right-of-ways, and those two locations will pass 1,820 passings. Now, as we start to turn up customers, we'll start turning up our marketing. One of the things we'll want to do is work on getting locations inside the service areas to do a sign-up days. We find that it's best if we come out into the communities where the fibers are serviceable. So we'll reach out to Steve and other people in the county to find out, is there a possible fire department there, or is there a local church, or is there another location there that we could partner with to conduct a sign-up day? And then we'll advertise it. We'll do direct mailings. These are examples of postcards. And what that is when we're doing the routes, we have a listing of the addresses, and we'll do mailings directly to those people that they're going to have a sign-up day. We'll also have it on our webpage, and we'll try to get as many people out there as possible to sign up for the services. Again, we don't start making money until we start providing services on it. So it's important to us to get people signed up as quickly as possible. Here is another one. They'll start sending these out when it gets close to being ready. So this is kind of a primer, hey, fiber is coming. That also lets them know if construction is starting in their area. So if you start getting any calls from residents, what they'll probably be getting is postcards saying, hey, fiber is coming into your area, or fiber is available. We also have a web page that they can go to. It's myriverstreet.net. If they scroll down to fiber build, they can click fiber build updates. Then that will bring up the next screen, the one to your right there, where they can scroll down to the county, select the county, and that will actually take them to the county map. And on the county map, they can see the areas that are ready for service. Those are green. The ones that are under construction would be yellow, and any that haven't started construction yet would be blue. But they can go in there, either search for their address at the top, or they can find their address on this map. And once they click onto it, they can let us know if they're interested in service. If service isn't available yet, they can go on and pre-register, give us contact information, and when it is available, then we'll reach back out to them. That way they don't have to keep checking. We also asked the county, if possible, to link this to their webpage. It makes it easier if you have a broadband page that the people can come to your webpage, find our link right to this map, and then they can go in there and search our address. We don't have any issues with you all sharing this map out. This is a public-facing map, keeps them up to date what's going on. If the service is available, they can click their dot when it's green, go in there, and they actually register for service, sign up right then and there, see if any programs or specials that we might be having, and participate that way. If they don't have internet service, of course, then they can just give us a call. There's a toll-free number they can call and reach out to us, and our customer service reps will walk them through the process over the phone and get everything filled out. Any questions for me?
Excellent, thank you. Any questions, Mr. Meredith?
On, once AEP turns these over to you and you do your own testing, what's the time frame to where you'll have internet available for homes?
Well,
I mean, as if they sign up, what's, I know you're depending on AEP.
So typically we try to get the service installed within 2 to 3 weeks once they sign up. But what happens is once the service becomes available, we'll get, instead of 1 or 2 applications, we might get hundreds of applications. And so then we got to work our way through those. I can tell you that we're geared up to do as many, I want to say, as many as 300 or so installs a month, right, across the whole setup. And what happens is, as we're bringing up areas, we might get a group of 50 or so installs in that one area, and then we'll focus on working those down, because it's easier for us to send a crew to one area and get 4 or 5 installs done in a day versus them going back and forth across the county where they can only get 2 installs done. So typically what we do is we'll try to gear up the marketing to let people know, get as many people signed up as possible, so that once we can turn up the services, we can start activating and keep the crews in those areas to be more efficient at getting the installs done. But it all depends on how many applications we get at a time as to whether or not we can get those done in the 2 or 3 weeks, or if it's going to take longer, because instead of having 10 or 15 applications, we have 50 or 60 applications.
So once the AEP signs off to y'all,
What's
that window before you're actually ready to
I'm not
start?
sure. I'm not sure. Once they turn it over to us, then I'm not sure how long our engineers are going to need. But once they turn it over to us, then our engineers can go through review, make sure the light settings are good for us, and then start the process of building out the fiber that we need to start serving the customers. I would say that's probably within, according to this, probably within a couple months once we get it turned over.
Once it gets turned over. I'm just curious, because I know down in that area, Snow Creek area, they've been waiting a very long time. So just that way, we have something from AEP, and you're saying 2 more months, and then hopefully things are right. That's when they can start actually seeing.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, any other questions from the authority members, comments?
So Q2 and Q3 of this year,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
2026.
You heard it here.
I heard
Yep.
it here.
You heard it here.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Sandy?
Do you know if those postcards have gone out yet to the Sandy level, to the
I
first one?
do not. I'll check and find out. I do not, if they know. I'll find
And
out.
they roughly, that's going to go out 30 days ahead of time? Is that kind of, or more?
I think it goes out a little bit less time than that, and the reason why is because people have a tendency, or what happens if it gets too far in advance, then they sign up and then nothing happens, and they get upset because I signed up months ago and nothing's happened, and then they start calling you all because I signed up and they haven't done anything yet. So we try to send it so that it's, I think, less than 30 days out, so that there's not a whole lot. And then I want to say that they do multiple mailings, because we know that probably the first wave is just going to get tossed. And it's not until they get enough of those, or their neighbors start getting signed up, or their family members start getting signed up. That's always interesting. We've had issues where a a family member lives maybe on an adjacent parcel as another family member, and they signed up, and for some reason, now this member is wanting the service, but they can't get signed up in time, and it gets to be quite interesting when you have one family member has the service and the other one doesn't have it yet, and we get a lot of calls that way. Well, my mom's got it, why can't I get it? You know. Well, she was the sign up number 1, and you're sign up number 55. So anyway, but yeah, we try to get them out closer to the time we're ready, so that there's not a whole lot of wait time, because people have a tendency that if they sign up, they expect then we should be turning around the corner to install them within a matter of days instead of weeks.
Do you do yard signs at all too? Because I've
We
seen
do.
those be effective.
Yes, we do. So we typically, when we go to do install, we'll ask the homeowner if we can put our yard sign in as well. And so we also will do postings on Facebook where we'll take a picture with the owner of that parcel or that home saying they got the service and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of marketing that happens. Again, the more people we sign up, the quicker we start getting the money back that we've invested in that fiber. Because again, it costs us over $50,000 plus per mile to get the fiber in the ground. We want to get as many people signed up as we can.
You good? Thank you, Rob, so much. We appreciate you being here and providing us with an update.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Rob, will you be at the PDC meeting next week?
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay. See you there.
I will be the junior person there, so.
Okay. I look forward to it.
You're on his radar, I can tell.
I know it, yeah, not a problem.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Mr. Sandy, do you have any other matters that you'd like to bring before the authority?
I do not.
Okay, now it's time on the agenda for any comments by authority members on any topic you'd like to discuss relative to our work. Anybody? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and like sign, that carries unanimously. Okay, we are adjourned until our That's okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to see everyone here with us this afternoon. I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors meeting today, Tuesday, March 17th, 3 p.m. to order. First of all, we will have our invocation by Mr. Carter and pledge by Mr. Meredith. So if you all would join me in standing, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. My trivia for you today is St. Patrick is the one that brought Christianity to Ireland in the 5th century. That's hard to believe, isn't it? With that, let us pray. Heavenly Father, as this meeting begins, we thank you for your guidance. Give us the strength for the responsibilities ahead and the wisdom for the decisions we make today. When challenges appear, help us respond with patience, faith, and hearts that trust in the Lord. As we work through our day, stand beside us. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all very much. Next on our agenda, we have a very special time set up here. I'll ask Wanda Foster if she'd come forward, and Mr. Sandy. It's that time of year that we have an opportunity to recognize and honor Franklin County employees who've reached important milestones in their service to the county. So, Mr. Sandy, if you would join me, please.
Hello, everyone. Once you get your awards, if you could just please step out in the hallway. Mr. Tosh would like to get a photo, and I'm going to do it in like increments of like 5, 10, 15. So just if you would like to come up and get your award and shake their hand would be great, okay? So we're starting with the 5-year. Our first one is Robert Atkins. Okay. Richard Childress. Okay. Michael. Ed. No, just kidding. Okay, Michael Dackery. All right. Jessica Dillon. Oh, there's Jessica. Hello. Pretty sweater. Christopher Drew. Ashley Ferguson. Charles Fisher. Lakita Goins. Michael Hafey. Oh, there's Michael. Thank you. Dr. Heather Keekster. Keeksterson? I knew I was going to mess it up. Sorry. Uh-huh. Derek Mason. Kennedy McBride. Jessica McPherson. Thank you, Jessica. Melody Pendleton. Colby Plavin. James Rumley. The third. Yes, thank you. Brantley Sandrock. Danny Sloan. Alan Smith. Mersa Stan. Kimberly Turner. Robert Wilson. And Denny Young. Okay, that's our 5-year. So now we're going 10. Timothy Burton. Justin Crawford. Penny Dudley. Terry Eckerson. That's Terry. Library girl. Thank you, Terry. Stephen Grantham. Teresa Williams. Rachel Hodges. Where's Rachel? Thank you, Rachel. Sharon McEnheimer. Thank you, Miss Sharon. Thank you. Cannon Morris. Cecil Newble. Thank you, Cecil. Who's the big one? Jenny Pekka Genseco. Stephen Sandy. You've been shaking. I'll shake your hand. Brenda Walker. Oh, God, I think I went off. There you go, Miss Brenda. I don't know who this is. We're gonna put her right there. Okay, now we move to 15 years. Jeffrey Dillon. Sherry Hammerstrom. I don't know where this one was at. Brandy Spencer. Oh, she was a breeze. Thank you. Now we're moving to 20 years. Lisa Cooper. Thank you, Lisa. Oh my God, just turn this way. Justin Hilton. I'm glad you could make it. Thank you. Sandra Lawson. Thank you, Sandra. Peggy Person. So much. Jackie Wagner. Casey Wright. Now we're at 25 years. Katrina Davis. Jessica Evers. Tina Franklin. Thank you, Miss Tina. Deborah Hall. Thank you, Deborah. Renee Ingram. I think she could be here. Michael Johnson. Angela Phillips. Karen Turner. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. And now we're moving to 40 years. That would be Miss Donna Kelly. Did you say 40? I said 40 years. Thank you, Donna. Okay.
You don't look 40, okay? Let's give our employees a big round of applause. Our employees are really the wind underneath our wings, day in and day out. Are there any comments from any supervisors that you'd like to make before we move on? Okay. Well, we appreciate the opportunity in indulging us for these recognitions. The next thing on the agenda is approval of the agenda that you've got in your book for today. Are there any requests for additions to the agenda today? Okay, hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, like sign. And that carries unanimously. Before we get into the consent agenda, Mr. Sandy and I want to ask for clarification on the budget calendar for March 24th. Mr. Sandy, did you want to introduce any remarks on this?
No, I think we just wanted to confirm with the board that we did have that as a tentative work session for next Tuesday, the 24th. Of course, we do have one Thursday, a budget work session, but also had the tentative 24th. So just for advertising purposes and make sure we properly notice that meeting, wanted to just confirm with the board if it was the desire to go ahead and hold a work session on that day. I think it could be beneficial for us to do that.
Yes. Any, go ahead, Mr.
3 p.m.
3. Yeah. Are there any questions, concerns from board members? Okay, so are we in consensus to keep that on the calendar at 3 p.m. on the 24th? Very good. Okay. So, Mr. Sandy, you can move forward with that confirmation. Thank you very much for bringing that to us. Next item are the consent agenda items that you have listed in your notebook. We've got 7 items underneath the consent agenda. Are there any of these issues that the board would like to pull for either a question and/or discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all those opposed, like sign. You want a roll call vote on that? I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I was just moving right along, Amy.
Supervisor Meredith,
Yes.
Supervisor Jamison. Yes. Supervisor Mitchell,
Yes.
Supervisor Carter,
Yes.
Supervisor Tatum,
Yes.
Supervisor Quinn,
Yes.
and Chair Smith.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for keeping me in line. Okay, next on our agenda, we will hear from Brian Cassell from VDOT. I'd like to welcome our VDOT staff that's with us today. Hope you're well. Good afternoon, Brian.
Hey, good afternoon. Good
How
to
are
see
you,
you all.
sir?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Good to be here with you all again as usual. We'll do our VDOT update report. Looking at the previous 30 days, of course, we've had some snow removal this year, and we had another event the other night. We actually had a little bit of work last night that with some falling trees and the wind that was out. So now maintenance for the next 60 days, I'll drop to the second item. We have some milling and overlaying that we'll be accomplishing. Route 670 Burnt Chimney Road and Route 663 Dillard's Hill. So, and I'm adding Route 636, that's not on your report, and that's Wysong Mill. We have the winter was harsh on our roadways, and so we are having some areas that are crumbling and alligatoring, and so we're, as we find those and we repair them, the plants are finally open back up, and we're getting to those as we can, so. I'll drop down to the land development permits. I just call attention to the number of active permits. We have 195 active permits. And as you know, there are a lot of fiber projects going on. So they're very active in our right-of-way, and we're monitoring them with their traffic controls and so forth. And then, let's see, I'll switch over to page 2. Requested safety studies. On Route 122, we have a request for review of the roadway for posting a speed limit from approximately 0.24 miles north of Route 116, Jubal Early Highway, to 0.1 miles south of Route 634, Harmony School Road. That zone is one of the remaining 55 mile per hour zones once you leave just north of Homestead Creamery there. And we've had some crashes through there, but we've asked for a safety review, and that traffic engineering is working on that. And then we have Route 1164, Village Springs Drive. We've had a request for some no parking signs. Folks have been parking out there, especially with the inclement weather, and so it makes that tight to get through there. So we'll be potentially adding some no parking signs along there. Dropping down to our construction, of course, we've got several projects that are, as you see, usually Ride 220, that are currently active. I do call attention to the last bullet, Route 220, Virgil Butte Highway at Summit View. The flashing yellow beacon, the lights that become the future signal, they're underway in construction with that foundation work. So that's active. On to the final page. These are the same top three are the same that we've had in the past. I'll note Route 635, Novella, we have a resurface of unpaved road, and that's one of our rural rustics, as well as Red Valley, 657 Red Valley. So we'll be working on those beginning late summer and certainly getting them wrapped up before November. So those are two. I do have a couple of other things I want to follow up on. Let's see, Route 636 Lost Mountain. I wanted to give just a quick update on that one, and we'll be adding that one to the list going forward. Currently, the project is progressing well. It's within the right-of-way phase, so our sequence of progression goes from preliminary engineering, then preliminary engineering overlaps right-of-way, and then once all that's wrapped up, then we go to construction. So it's scheduled to advertise for July 13th or July of 27. So it's estimate's good, and it's progressing right along.
So if I may interrupt you just
Yes,
a moment,
ma'am.
Brian, you're telling me that we're not advertising until July of 2027?
Yes, ma'am.
Why so far out?
That's, I guess, how it came in through the smart scale. That's the money that was available.
And we've yielded back to the roundabout.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I was going to ask you about that, so thank you for the update.
Yes. Yeah. The roundabout is actually, it's going to be built a little offline, so it's going to be, if you're on Lost Mountain looking at 122, it'll be sort of that northeast corner. So it'll be, in order to do that, that helps with the construction because it's out of the alignment and we're not stopping traffic as much, so.
And I think we're going to have to look at speed limit from the roundabout down to potential signalization down the corridor.
Yes.
Into Westlake, depending upon how that continues to evolve.
Right. Yeah, we've got a lot of development activity currently
Yes.
proposed through there.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And let's see, what else do I have? I think, Mr. Meredith, you had asked about Boones Mill Road, and I believe we're working on that. It should have been patched, but if it hasn't, we'll get that taken care of as far as the one right by the railroad tracks.
Yeah, I've seen it pass on the other end too. Appreciate that.
And then you also asked about the flashing lights.
Yes, sir.
To be actuated, when the signal turns red in Boones Mill. So I talked to our traffic engineering folks, and there's a memorandum on that we go by.
Okay.
All right, there's three criteria. One of them is the speed limit has to be posted at 45 or greater, which it meets. The other two, it really doesn't. And the other two, let me get my notes here. It involves some sight distance. It says the drivers do not have a continuous view of at least 2 signals, and that's for a distance as defined in the book. And I think it was about 800 feet or so. And so it didn't meet that because you do have continuous sight distance through there. The last one is if we've implemented any other mitigating circumstances. So they pulled crash reports through there for 5 years, and there were, I want to say 43, 45 crashes total, 50-50 split almost, northbound and southbound. To back up, what we do have in place today, we have a sign at the top of the hill as you come up from Grassy Hill and before you descend into Boone's Mill that says that the speed limit's going to drop. And then we have a 45 mile per hour posting. And then there is a yellow sign that's got a picture of a signal there, warning you that there's a signal ahead. So those are things that we have in place. Back to the crashes, the majority of the crashes are angle crashes. And that's consistent with what we see with entrances and conflict points, more so than it would be about signals. I think there were 10 rear ends total, where there were like 23 total angle crashes. Those are typically more severe too. They're also, like I said, associated more so with entrances. So there has been a project brought up. It hasn't progressed anywhere with both Franklin County and the town of Boone's Mill about access management through there. And that would be something that would be helpful to reduce those number of crashes through there. So all that said, it kind of is the big picture. But at this point, they didn't recommend installing those what we call controller actuated beacons, which would be controlled, just when the signal was red. It says, be prepared to stop when flashing or something. So, but that's an update on that.
So with the access management, is that something we'll get with Lisa? Is she working on it? I'll get with her then and
Yes, sir,
see
yes.
what we need to do.
We've
Okay.
had a couple of meetings with the town of Boone's Mill. Mm-hmm. So I think there was some coordination that needs to take place with the business owners out there.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
anything I can help with that,
Okay.
please let me know on that situation.
So I believe that concludes my report, and I'll be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Any of the supervisors? Mr. Mitchell?
Brian, do y'all have an estimated construction time on the work there at 619 and 220?
For completion, actually, I do not. I don't have a completion date on that yet. I'll get that for you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I was out there today, and I noticed they're making good progress, but I know it's inconvenient. Even some of our employees to let me know that.
Mr. Tatum?
Brian, I just want to say thank you for the town hall meeting we had this past week up at Crossroads. I know the people that came out appreciated y'all coming out and answering their questions and giving them a little bit more in-depth explanation as to what the process was and what all was going on. I didn't hear any negative comments when people left. They seemed to be maybe not satisfied with the answers, but they understood the answers better.
Right.
And I appreciate y'all coming out.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Miss
Brian, how you doing?
I'm well, sir.
I had a constituent call about Webster Corner Road. And do you have any type of schedule when that might be started? I might get to that. I know it's priority 3.
It's actually our next one. We just were out there last week and wrote it, and we're looking at it. So our consultant is doing what we call a straight line sketch. It's a minimum plan type project where we just note some areas where we're going to make some improvements, where we have to reestablish ditches and things like that. So they are just getting started on that one. So that is the next one that's following. I would say likely that would be on next year's cycle to complete.
Okay. I'll pass it on.
Please don't
Thank you.
quote me on that 100% because we've got to get it drafted and developed and get it through the old approval process. We're very early on in that sketch development.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Carter, did you have anything? Anybody on this end? Mr. Meredith?
I told Brian I always have something for him. So. No, just 2 quick things. I know you'll have to research this, but Mountaineer Lane, I think as a project's been 20, 25 years in the work. I think there's one obstacle, but I didn't know we could review that and see what we can help out. Since I've actually heard a date of 1995 when they was going to go in there and fix that. So don't hold me to that. But it's something we can look at and see what we need to do, and I can help you out on that. And another one I've had, and I know you won't be able to answer this yet, but Cooper's Cove's had a lot of patchwork and stuff done over it, and I guess it's got a lot of traffic. So I didn't know if in the next year or two, or what about just a repave like you've done on Boone's Mill Road and Brombrook Mill, something like that.
Okay.
Is that something there? Because it takes a lot of abuse during the days and weeks, but it's been patched a lot, and maybe it's time for a reset. So if you can
Yeah, I'll
look
check
into
on that to see if it happens to be on one of our 27 schedule.
Excellent. I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
And on
Quinn?
Mountaineer, we've had a lot of conversations in the past about Mountaineer, and we understand there's some challenges with it and so forth. But if you want to call me, we can discuss maybe some of the background if you would like to do that.
And I think the background, there's one building there that makes it narrow something, but my questions is, can we fix it? And, I go across narrow bridges. I go across, if that's just a
Right.
little obstacle that we could work around and help, like I said, I'd be happy to talk to you and we
Okay.
can see what we can do. Thank you.
Sounds great.
Mr. Quinn, did you have anything, sir? Okay, Brian, thank you so much for being with us. We
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate it very much.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you all for all the hard work you're doing cleaning up from the winter. It was a rough one.
It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to the next item. We have Mr. Carter, our Deputy County Administrator, with a host of issues, Mr. Carter, to cover. Mr. Sandy, did
Yes.
you have any
I
introductory?
was just going to say, as Brian's coming, we
Yes.
packed a bunch of stuff under Brian's name, but we'll call this the finance hour. This will be our first update from Dr. Sears as part of that corrective action plan, where part of that was having him come each month and give you kind of a finance update and a finance report from the school board. And then Brian also has an introduction, I think. Then as Dr. Sears and some of his staff still here, we'll get into the potential improvements at Lee M. Wade Elementary School and the proposed funding for that. And then Brian will do his regular monthly finance report, and then we'll get into a discussion about health insurance renewals. So again, we packed a bunch in there for this time, but I'll turn it over to Brian now, and then I don't know if he's going to do the introduction first or do Dr. Sears first, so I'll let you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. So, Madam Chair, members of the board, as Mr. Sandy said, you are correct. So the corrective action plan did require a monthly financial report to the Board of Supervisors from the schools. And so we have worked on that. The other thing that the corrective action plan mentioned was the hiring of a consultant to assist in the endeavor for county finance staff, but also to provide a supplement to school finance staff. And so what we'd like to do is we've been working with our consultant, so Ann Shawver. And so I'll let Ann introduce herself, provide a bio to you. Certainly a distinguished career in local government and public service, public finance. And so she has prepared a basic financial statement. She will go over that with you. We prepared and shown this to Dr. Sears and his staff for feedback, and so then he'll be able, with the school staff, to maybe provide a little extra context and support for discussion from the first pass of a school financial report. So board members, your feedback is going to be important if you would like to see more. And of course, we as staff are going to be taking notes as questions come up. This is probably information we need to add to a future report. It'll be very beneficial for us. So this one is just a one-pager. It's very basic, but it is something you would be used to seeing from our county staff standpoint. So I would just like Ann, if you would like to come up. And she wanted to walk through this, and then I'll let her introduce herself and give her all the fine qualifications she has and why we wanted Ann to work with us on this project, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you so much, Marty.
Good afternoon, Ann.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be here with all of you. Thank you for having me. As Mr. Carter said, my name is Ann Shawver, and I come to you with quite a bit of local government finance experience. I'm a student graduate of both James Madison University and Virginia Tech with undergrad and MBA degrees from those two respectively, and have lived and worked in the Roanoke Valley since the late 80s. Spent some time with the accounting firm KPMG for about 4.5 years, and then spent 20 years with the city of Roanoke, where I ended my tenure there as the director of finance. I have been owning and operating a consulting practice for about 12 years now, just me, so a small practice, a boutique practice, I like to say. And so I assist local governments with their financial accounting and reporting needs, the pre-audit type of work, sometimes fill in finance officer, things of that nature, sometimes some special projects as well. And so I've been very pleased to work with Mr. Carter and Mr. White in the last couple of weeks to develop something that we thought would be helpful for all of you as board members to meet your needs, to get some periodic financial reporting regarding the schools and the finances that are pertaining to the schools. And Mr. Carter and Mr. White have worked with Dr. Sears to get some input from him. And so I get a chance to meet with him today. I haven't done that previously, but I appreciate the opportunity to work with him as well. So let me just talk to you a little bit about what we're presenting to you, what we've got for you today, and then a little bit about how we hope to build this out as we continue working with this in future months. So the financial report that you may have in your packet shown on the screen here basically includes the school's major categories of revenues and expenditures on the left-hand side down the page in rows. The first column of numbers is the actual results through February fiscal 26. So for the first 8 months cumulative of fiscal 26. The next column beside that is the budget as it's been amended. There's been a little bit of a change in budget from adoption. So the current budget for fiscal 26. The third column of numbers is the remaining budget, so just the math between the current budget and February year to date. And then that far right column of percentages indicates for you the percent of, thank you, making it a little bigger. Oh, yeah, that's good. The percent of the budget that's been recognized so far. And if everything moved smoothly for every month of the year, that would be about 67%. Now, sometimes it doesn't work that way, but you know, if the year flowed kind of on a ratable level, it would be at about 67%. And so I'm going to make some comments about what's before you, kind of high level, and we'll certainly be glad to answer any questions. I think Dr. Sears can assist with that as well. So the first thing I'll call your attention to is that the very bottom of that leftmost column indicates that as of the end of February, there's been a positive, what we call change in net position. Some people might use the term surplus of about $2 million. So $2 million of revenues over expenditures. So that's a good thing. You know, we like that. Why is that? Well, I would call your attention to the percentages for total revenues and total expenditures that are in that right-hand column. You'll note that revenues are at 68% of budget, so a little bit ahead of that 67% target, while expenditures are at 66%, just a little bit below that target. So those percentages are narrow, right? They're pretty close, right? Really, we would say like right on the money. But you know, believe it or not, a 1% improvement on the revenue side and a 1% curtailment on the expenditure side, enough to create that positive change in net position of, like I said, about $2 million. One of the things that we're going to work together to bring you for future meetings is a projection of how the year will be once the entire year is complete. We really didn't have the time to build that for this particular meeting. You know, it's important that we really study the data that's been recorded so far, be aware of any oddities, anything that's pending, things that should have been reported already but maybe haven't. And so as we move into the future, we're hoping to bring that to you. I'd like to comment a little bit about revenues and expenditures that might be doing better or worse than what we might hope or might expect. So let me start with revenues for that. And again, overall, revenues are performing positively. However, that state sales tax at 57% is just a little bit concerning. I was hoping that it might be just a timing issue, but when I looked at last year's performance was quite a bit higher than that. So, and I mean, I guess it's still probably a timing issue in terms of state funding, but something we're going to need to study a little bit more and understand a little bit better. Probably the most significant thing on the revenue side is that federal funding at under half so far. And so, you know, that's something that we certainly want to dig into, understand a little bit more about. No, does that mean we're not going to get all of the federal funding we've budgeted, or is it just a timing issue? Are there things that we need to do to move that along, et cetera. I will point out that the county funding is pretty far ahead of the typical target for this time of year, and that directly relates to the fact that the federal funding is behind. My understanding is that county funding is done very intentionally based on the cash flow needs of the school division, and so with a lack of funding on the federal side, the county funding has been stronger year to date than what we would typically anticipate. I will say specifically, $8.8 million in more of county funding has been furnished to the division so far February this year opposed to February last year. So pretty big dollar swing from year to year in terms of that funding from the county. You know, for the year as a whole, we would expect that to meet budget, but right now it's fairly far ahead. On the expenditure side of the house, I think it's pretty safe to say that almost all of the expenditure categories are either what I would say, under budget, no concerns there, or maybe just a slightly off budget, but, not anything to totally lose sleep about. The one category that's a little bit of a concern is that second line item, administration, attendance, and health, at 77% of the budget. However, that's a fairly small slice of the overall expenditure pie. That's only about 4% of total expenditures. So in terms of dollars, even though it's ahead of target, not a huge concern. On your expenditure side for the school division, instruction comprises 70% of those expenditures. So by far, the largest portion of school expenditures. And with that, I think I will close my comments and see if Mr. Carter or others wish to chime in and add anything.
Thank you so much. I'll open up the floor for any questions or inquiries from the board at this juncture. We'll just kind of take this incrementally. Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious, and welcome on board, first of all. Is there data available to compare our school system's expenditures with similar school systems in this area that we could look at that?
I would say yes. One thing that's kind of nice about local government finance is that most information is always publicly available. The state auditor of public accounts does collect and compile certain data about all localities in Virginia. And so there's educational data as part of that, and then certainly information can be gathered, based on request or just based on publicly available documents from other school divisions.
Yeah, I like to see comparative data to sort of see how we shape up against our neighbors. And that's all I had.
Do you want to make a formal request
Sure.
for that information? So I don't know if we need to direct that to you, Ann, or to Dr. Sears, or both.
I think all of us, any of us,
All
is
of you.
fine. And I know when I was with Roanoke, we had a group there, including the city of Roanoke. There were 7 that we used regularly as benchmark entities. So, and I would say, I can suggest some comparator school divisions, but certainly if you have some in mind, Mr. Carter, that you would particularly want for us to use, we would certainly be welcome to that.
I don't have anything in particular in mind, and I don't want to get into the weeds too far with that either, create a lot of work for staff, but maybe 2 or 3 comparisons just to see where maybe we're weaker, maybe we're stronger, maybe where we're spending more or less or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carter. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Ann, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It's nice to meet you.
You're
and
welcome.
It's nice to have you on the team.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Mr. Carter.
All right. That went a little bit easier. So, next item is the Lee Wade project. And so that's attachment 9. Get that right. Yep, attachment 9 in your packet. And so if, I know when we had the joint board meeting with the school board, county board of supervisors, of course, this project was mentioned. And so, they mentioned several projects, and of course, ABM, the firm that the schools are contracting with, provided an analysis of their capital needs. And so one of the highest rated need was the Lee Wade Elementary School and their HVAC system. In addition to that, they had presented information on lighting upgrades, energy efficiency upgrades that would be for all the schools as part of this study and their analysis. And so when we were at the end of that discussion, it was really discussed about timing and when we can accomplish some of these projects, how we would pay for these projects. And so really where we as staff have worked is to a point of we have the $20 million in the financing that was completed in October. There was as part of that borrowing and intended use for school system capital. At the time, there were two that when the projects were scoped and limited to just HVAC for Rocky Mount Elementary and Lee Wade. And the intent of that was and we knew at the time that they were the highest rated needs for the school system. So given the timing, if you remember, just recollect from that meeting that there really is not enough time to purchase equipment for Rocky Mount Elementary. They would not arrive in time, or would be unlikely to arrive in time for summer for the work to be completed. So then we focused on Lee Wade. And so really at this point, won't rehash all of the items because I'm probably certainly not qualified to do that ABM presented to the boards, but ultimately presented a proposal. And so we've worked with the staff and with contract and with language and financing. So really that the contract is with the school system. And so it's really for their decision. I think from us as a staff perspective, it is a request of, do we allocate funding for this project? And so in your packet, it lists the project cost just over $1 million, $4 million, in order to accomplish the HVAC and the energy efficiency renovations, those items for the project. For staff's perspective, we worked with board members, and so with questions that arrive with contracts, and you see some of those in the executive summary. Certainly don't want to read that verbatim. I know we've communicated some of those concerns. So really at this point, Madam Chair, members of the board, we're at a point of do we want to allocate funding and allow the school system to move forward from our borrowing for this project? Do we have additional questions before we're comfortable with that? And so really that's where we want to open it up for possible board discussion or board action.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Mr. Sandy?
Thanks, Brian. And I think I would just add that there were some changes made to the contract as late as the end of last week, and that was relative to a substantial completion time, April 3rd or August 3rd or 4th, I think. There was liquidated damages that was added to the contract, and then there was the initial mobilization percentage was decreased from 30% to 25%. And I think those were the three significant changes that were made to the contract from what you originally saw. So as Brian said, there's the contract would be for just a little over $4 million, and that would be to do all of the HVAC work and the work covered in the contract, plus that also includes the energy and efficiency improvements. With ABM, there is a guaranteed energy savings. I believe that number was like $110,000 a year, something like that. It's in the contract. And so just wanted to point out those recent changes. And I know Dr. Sears is here and maybe a few of his staff. I think it was before the school board last evening and I think was approved. Is that subject to the funding allocation? So just wanted a few more updates from what Brian had said, but yeah, the other information is in your packet.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sandy. I definitely would like to open the floor up for discussion. I would also offer some predicating information, basically just in my follow-up with individual supervisors over the last week or two. I may, if I'm speaking incorrectly, please let me know. I think we have been understanding that Lee Wade had a sense of urgency for completion in regard to getting this approval up in front of us here in March in order to be able to do this school this summer when the students are not in session. And then just some, again, this is feedback and we can discuss where we are on it, but then that we would consider, getting this project solely done, perhaps, as an example with ABM, and see how that goes, see where we end up on the other side of that, and then perhaps the Board of Supervisors, in consultation with the schools, would work forward on next steps for Rocky Mount and the other two schools that were listed in the initial bundled contract. Do I have that right, Mr. Carter?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, so I'm going to open up the floor for discussion from supervisors on the, what we're looking at today is to whether to approve the little over $4 million drawdown on the borrowing to execute ABM for Lee Wade Elementary this summer.
Madam Chair, I would just add that one of the other reasons we thought about delaying some of the other schools was the potential of the 1%
Yes.
sales tax, which could help fund some of that other work that we know is necessary.
That's a good point, and that's very questionable at this point, unfortunately. We're talking about the potential for the General Assembly to act on allowing localities, which many of our regional localities have the opportunity to go to referendum on an additional 1% on sales tax that would be restricted to school construction and renovation only for Virginia schools. And we were thinking it's pretty much going to be a slam dunk, but because the last 2 years, the Senate and House have approved it, and it was vetoed at the governor's desk over the last 2 years. And we were expecting the governor to approve it this session. However, the Senate now is moving it into the Budget Committee, which is a worrisome sign for me. But we're going to keep our advocating strong. We really think that this could be an option to help keep pressure off the tax rate for our citizens if we had a dedicated, it's almost a user tax to some degree when you think about sales tax. A lot of folks that are coming into the county, are sharing some of that burden. So we'll see where that goes, but that's what Mr. Sandy was in large part referring to. So, Mr. Jamison, I'll open up to you, sir.
I've had some concerns. I've talked to Steve. He sent some questions back to ABM. I think this is a bad contract. I mean, as far as construction industry goes and looking at it, the mobilization is a big problem with me. Before they touch it, according to the contract, the way I read it, before they even come set foot on the project, they're going to build us with 25%, still $1 million. And they listed procuring equipment and time slots, to move the equipment up in production now. I don't see that. In construction end of it, all you need to procure equipment is a PO number to them. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to be billed till that stuff is shipped, the equipment is shipped. Then they're going to have 30 days to pay for it from that point on. And for me, giving the county, paying them for equipment that's not even on site before it's even ordered, we shouldn't pay a dime till it's on site and pay for the equipment at that point. There were other issues. I've raised most of these questions. I think all the board members have seen it before. But there's a lot of things in it that I'm wondering if it's covered. It's questionable. The contract list, it mentions a duct detector in the gym rooftop unit. It goes on and lists in it, they're going to supply 13 more smaller RTUs for the classrooms. It notes in its contract that smoke detectors by others. That's the only thing I've seen in the contract pertaining to any fire alarm work at all. So, I mean, is that covered, or is it going to be an extra cost the county needs to consider? The boiler, the fuel tank for the boiler, it says that it will be pumped and the fuel will be pumped and disposed of by third party. So I'm assuming they haven't got that covered, and I don't know who other is unless it is the county. That'd probably be another extra cost we need to consider looking at it. The asbestos hazardous material, I don't know, Steve, maybe you can answer that. Has the whole job been abated? what I'm thinking about, where they're cutting holes through the roof and the new curbs going in and all like that. If we do run into it, they exclude it, and rightly so. Any contractor's gonna do that. But if we do run into it, or they run into it during construction, will that delay the job? It's possible it could, and the way I read their contract, they could bill us for the delay on that.
Do you have any comments, Mr. Sandy?
The fuel tanks, I don't know, we was talking about it a while ago, but there may be some other EPA concerns there, I don't know. I've got no problem, we need to do this work. But I believe that we could save a substantial amount of money if this thing goes out to bid. Now, I know we got a problem with the equipment at the boilers and all that at Lee Wade. What I would suggest, we take the money now, we not fund this project. We hire us a contractor to go in to evaluate what's there, report back to us what repairs need to be made, to carry this job over till next summer and give us time to put the job out for bid and get competitive prices. Now, the engineering, we're gonna have to hire an engineer to do it. He may come up with a different design, I don't know. But I believe this job is inflated enough that we could take care of the engineer easy enough and bid it out and still save money on it. In my mind, we've asked questions, we've asked for schedule values, and they're not gonna provide that the way I understand until the contract's signed. And I can't prove what I'm telling you because I don't have the numbers there in front of me, but I would say I would not sign this contract the way the contract is written. The other thing that I'm looking at, we need this kind of amount of money, $4 million, we need to make sure it is bid competitive to save any money as far as taxpayer money out there. We owe our constituents that. And I'll shut up.
Okay, Mr. Jamison, thank you so much, and thank you. I just want to take a moment and thank you for all the research and the due diligence that you've performed on this contract on behalf of the board. It's been very informative and helpful to us in our decision-making. Mr. Tatum, did you have anything? Mr. Carter?
I'm going to think about it a few minutes and see what the rest of the board says.
Understood. Ms.
I would just say that oftentimes since being here, I find myself in these positions that, well, and we talked about it a while back about the work of, and just for an example, the work of the Planning Commission when it comes up to the work of the Board of Supervisors. And when you read the staff summary, we're being asked to either we're going to fund the school's request or we're not. And this contract is through the schools, not us. I agree with everything Marshall says, and I trust his expertise on it. However, it is a school contract, not a board of super. It's not our. We don't sign and we don't. I get into the weeds of it isn't the right wording, but to me, it's a decision of either we're going to fund the school's request to do it or we're not going to fund the school's request to do it, and I just leave it at that.
That's correct. That's correct. And yes, Mr. Meredith.
Yes, Madam Chair. What I'd like to add to this, I agree 100% with what Marshall said. I did reach out and talk to him a little bit about this contract being in construction. I think it could have been handled better with some time, and I know we got put at the last minute. With that being said, I think anything moving forward, we need to have the appropriate time to do it the right way. But also, I think about at the end of the day, if we don't address this and get it taken care of, if that steam line that busted would have hit a couple students, what would we been faced? And I don't want to put a price on a kid, a student. I do have my reservations, and I agree with Supervisor Marshall with everything. I think my opinion is moving forward, we don't get in a time crunch like this happened where we're making a last minute decision. But on the other hand, I don't want to see nobody, no students, staff, anybody to get hurt. And this might be a situation where this should have been addressed years before now. We need to get it taken care of. We need to move forward because then next year we're talking about 2 schools. Let's go ahead, and this is just my opinion, let's get this taken care of. But let's prevent us making was keep us from making, let us have time to make logical decisions in the future that we all feel comfortable with, and we are being very respectful of the taxpayers' dollars. So that's where I'm gonna stand on mine. It is a tough decision, but I think we need to look at if, at the end of the day, if a student or teacher would have got hurt there, what would we been facing? And that's, I wouldn't want that to be my kid.
Sure, sure. Thank you,
I'll
Mr.
leave it
Meredith. Mr. Quinn, do you have anything?
I'd like to briefly explain my position regarding this proposed $4 million contract. And first, I want to be clear that the situation we're facing today is not the fault of the school board or the school system. For more than 2 years, my 2 years, the Board of Supervisors has placed significant financial constraints on the school system, making it difficult for them to conduct the kind of long-term capital replacement planning that any organization needs to properly maintain its facilities. In addition, the school board briefed the Board of Supervisor leadership in August regarding the ABM work plan. At that time, there was an opportunity to raise concerns and insist that this work be competitively procured. There was also an opportunity for our board leadership to inform the rest of our board so we could address the issue early and pursue a transparent procurement process. Unfortunately, our board leadership did not take either of these actions, so we are now being asked to approve a $4 million contract that was not competitively bid. The Virginia Public Procurement Act makes it clear that public bodies should obtain goods and services through fair and open competition wherever practical. The reason for this is simple. Competition protects taxpayers and helps ensure the public receives the best value. When competition is removed from the process, taxpayers lose the benefit of market pricing. Based on my experience reviewing projects of this size, I believe the lack of competitive bidding on this project may be costing Franklin County taxpayers somewhere between $1 and $2 million. This situation reflects a failure of planning and leadership, and the taxpayers of Franklin County should not be expected to pay for that failure. I cannot in good conscience support asking our citizens to shoulder that level of potential overpayment. For that reason, I will not be voting to approve this contract. However, I believe we should use the moment to establish a clear expectation that future contracts of this size be competed through a formal RFP or invitation for bid process whenever practical, consistent with the standards of the Virginia Public Procurement Act. Our citizens expect us to be responsible stewards of their taxpayer dollars, and competitive procurement is one of the most basic ways we fulfill that responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Further remarks? Comments? Okay, Mr. Jamison, please.
Nick, to address what you're saying, it's a school contract. We're being asked to pay for it, though. That's the way I look at it. And Mike, we could get this, if it would work out like I was talking about, what I proposed, we could still go in this summer with a contractor and take care of that. Then the work's not gonna start till summer either way. It's either turn it over to B&M and pay the price, or pay a contractor. And like I said, I think we can go in there with a decent contractor and take care of any problems and let them look at it and evaluate it. That's where I stand on it. And I agree with Dan as far as the savings. It's somewhere in there. Anytime you're promised a fixed contract and guaranteed return on its energy savings, you better know they got themselves covered. Anybody would. Nick, is sort of like me and you both have dealt with a cattleman up in Floyd. Won't call no names. When you go to buy them cows from him, they're good cows. They've been given their shots and all like that. But you're gonna pay somewhere between 2 and maybe 5 cents, 4 cents a pound more for that cow. But then he will ask you an option to buy it back. And when you sell it back to him, you're gonna get a couple, 2, 3 cents more than you can find at the market than you can sell them at the market for. He's got our money up front, and that's what I look at this contract they're doing. The savings we're gonna get back is our own money that we've given them up front. I'm done.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jamison. I know that we've got some representatives from ABM here. Is the board interested in having ABM come up and respond to any of your inquiries or comments? Is that something you all would like?
My question, Madam Chair, would be more, I remember when you and I first heard this. When was that?
Been about a year ago.
So, but I don't understand why this didn't go to procurement and to Mr. Quinn's comments on, it wasn't my job and I wasn't leadership. I was just the liaison. It was not on
Nor
me
was I.
to present that to anyone.
Yeah.
So I'm just confused as to if this didn't go out to procurement, how can the schools award a $4 million contract if it did not go out for procurement? I'd like an answer to that question. Mr. Carter, please.
So, so we did work with the schools a little bit on that. And now, to be clear, this was the school system's procurement process. It was not county staff. But however, in working late fall last year on this process and trying to understand where we were, we do know that this was procured cooperatively. And if you remember, we do that for several things on the county side, fire apparatus being particularly one of them, due to the cost. And so it was through a Sourcewell contract, which is a national cooperative procurement option. Would we have been able to issue an RFP and receive it cheaper? It's an option, but a lot of local governments use cooperative procurement vehicles. Sourcewell is one big one. Omega is another that is a national cooperative procurement. The HGAC is the fire apparatus, Houston Galveston Area Consortium is what that stands for. So from Virginia Public Procurement Act, it was competitively procured because we procured it through a cooperative procurement vehicle, and the school system utilized that option. But that doesn't preclude you from issuing your own RFP at a later time or at a different time to do. But just want to make clear, we were in compliance with Virginia Public Procurement Act, utilizing a cooperative procurement vehicle that local governments try and utilize to save on the cost of issuing an RFP and reviewing and having a panel of employees review that may not have expertise to review those RFPs. So then if you don't, then you have to hire another third party to review from subject matter expert standpoint. And also the timing. Usually your RFP process is at least 3 months. Time you advertise, interview, and then it comes back for approval. And so all of those are factors that usually go into that procurement process. And so I'm assuming the schools went through that same mindset and that same analysis and decided that this cooperative vehicle was advantageous for them.
So, in piggybacking on Mr. Mitchell, being expeditious about this last year was basically a vehicle that managed by the school board and the school system. Our role as the fiscal elected body is to fund. So in regard to some comments, there was no failure of leadership on this board. If things got deferred for reasons that were worked in behind the scenes, could have been. I wasn't the chair then, can't speak to that. But I just want to make sure that we're understanding the roles that are in play here and that this board did not do anything that would have precipitated a delay. Okay, Mr. Tatum.
Yes. I guess my question's for Mr. Sandy. Is there any way possible if we decided not to approve this contract here, but decided to hire a contractor, put it out for bid like Mr. Jamison said, would there be any way possible that could be done this summer before school starts in August?
No, I don't think there's any way to do the full project. I think what Mr. Jamison was suggesting was a contractor to fix some of the major issues, maybe to get it another year. And I don't want to speak for you, but I think that's what you were referring to.
Yes.
But to do the complete project, no, we would not have time to get it done this summer to do all the bidding process and get all that work done this summer.
I guess my question there is, I feel like I agree with Mr. Jamison. I feel like there could be some real savings if we did put it out for bid. But I guess my question would be, would we see enough savings to justify losing another year in the project? And would we see the savings, because inflation is real, machinery goes up, labor is constantly going up, all this equipment is going up, this same project's going to cost more next year than this year. Would we see enough savings to take that risk? I don't know. I don't know that anybody can answer that, but, you know, that's my question.
So,
Chair,
yes,
as a
please.
follow-up to Tim's comment, and I agree with a lot of what Marshall said, but if we delay it, there's no guarantee we're going to save $1 million on this contract. And I think we're inserting ourselves into the school system's process, which is not our job.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Do you all, would you like anyone else called up to address the issues? Dr. Sears is here, ABM's here, of course, our staff. In lieu of that, if there's no desire for that, I would open up a recommendation of a motion on this matter.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
I'll make a
Meredith.
motion that the Board of Supervisors approve the use of $4,073,610 from the 2025 borrowing for the necessary HVAC work and energy efficiency improvements at V.M. Wade Elementary School as outlined in the ABM agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. I'm going to get your name now. Mr. Mitchell. Okay. So is there any further discussion before we place a vote on the question? Okay, hearing none. Madam Clerk, if you would be so kind to do a roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Mitchell,
Yes.
Supervisor Meredith,
Yes.
Supervisor Carter,
Yes.
Supervisor Jamison,
No.
Supervisor Quinn,
No.
Supervisor Tatum,
No.
and Chair Smith.
So y'all are just going to make me be the tie and vote breaker, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes, you are. This has been a tough one for me, I will tell you. I'm gonna vote a no on this one.
The motion was not carried.
So, I think at this juncture, Mr. Sandy, recommendations on next steps.
I think at this point, we have the option that maybe Supervisor Jamison recommended, was that maybe the school board looking at a contractor that could help mitigate some of the immediate concerns at the school. Otherwise, I think it's looking at going back to maybe packaging it together as a multiple schools again, and as I said earlier, looking at the 1% as a potential source to help fund all those improvements.
Yeah, my vote really, it's my hope that we could do something with more immediacy to address something to get us through that can be done this summer perhaps, for safety purposes as a priority for our students and our teachers, with the understanding that, with adequate time to do, RFP design and build, those types of things, I think is what the board has been struggling with. I think the immediacy of this project has caused a lot of angst in what to do and when to do it. So I think what we ought to do at this point, Mr. Sandy, do you feel that you ought to reconvene with Dr. Sears at this juncture, or do you want me to interface with the board chair of the school board, or all of the above?
Yeah, I'll certainly have a conversation with Dr. Sears about some possible next steps.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you all for your deliberations in this. Mr. Quinn?
I would just add that I think over the next month, as we're budgeting the CIP, it's a great chance for us to determine what their budget will be for the summer of 2027 and give them that commitment now, so they know they're not wasting all the work that goes into doing an RFP, that they can count on that money's in the bank for next summer. They can do a good process and we can get a couple projects done. Because in my mind, there's no doubt this project has to be done, and there are several others. They're critical projects.
They
but
are.
We just need the proper planning ahead of time to competitively bid them.
They are, Mr. Quinn, and I appreciate that point.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
but
Mr.
I would add to that, it is, and I'm all for RFPs to get it, but there's no project on the county side of the ledger that can do $4 million without a borrowing. So we have to take the borrowing to do these. and it's through the 20 million. I mean, to say that we could, the total for that Rocky Mountain Liam Wade was 10 million. We can't just say, okay, here's you another 10 million in capital in the upcoming budget. It's going to have to be a borrowing that has to come through the county side of the ledger. There's no quick fix to that. So unless we're going to say, all right, here's $10 million to go fix Rocky Mount Liam Wade, which that's 10 cents on the tax rate. It'll have to be through a borrowing that has to come across our desk. It can't just be, this is a school deal coming to the county for funding. And to meddle in the weeds of their contract is not our place. It's our job to pay for it. And I agree with everything Marshall says. I get it. They got to line it up. We got to pay for it. But to say that we're going to have $10 million worked into their budget for this summer, that's not going to happen. A $10 million increase just on the capital side of their budget, that it will have to come through us, through a borrowing. That's just how it's going to work. That's my only comment.
Well, and I would say, I mean, I think we all need to remember, not only on our side, on the county side, but on the school board side, both bodies, we have been very, we've been unable to, appropriately fund capital for decades, I would say. And I'm starting to hear, a lot of us talk about, the days come where we've got to stop kicking that can down the road, and we've got to be more deliberate in our capital planning, because this stuff's only going to cost us more and more money and have safety issues that will continue to evolve over time. So I think that we're very serious and intentional about what needs to be done, even if it's, if during budget we discuss, as an example, dedicated funding stream for school capital projects. We've got to start somewhere, and I sense that this board's not interested in kicking that can down the road, but we also, to Mr. Mitchell's point, to assume that we can turn over $10 million this summer is not going to happen. We don't have the capacity to do that. So without major decisions being made in the interim and not knowing if the 1% comes through and the referendum is successful, that's a different discussion. So anybody else, everybody fine for next steps?
I'm just going to add one thing to it. I think this is an opportunity for both boards to work together.
Absolutely,
And the
absolutely.
expectations, so that when it is brought to us, we feel comfortable we're doing the best for the taxpayers. That's what we're really here for. So I'm just going to say that it's just got an opportunity where we're not in this situation of questioning the process.
Absolutely not. And, as an example, on Thursday, we have invited the school board to come in, and we're going to make this an annual thing where we spend hour and a half with our school board to review budgets, not just turn a number over during our process to the schools and say, this is the number we came up with. We're going to really enact in-depth discussion and questions so that we jointly and collaboratively can discuss, school system on approximation, $100 million budget, give or take. It's, the same as the county. So we've got to be good fiscal fiduciaries of the taxpayer money. I think that's why this discussion has been so, it has been very direct and it's been very informative, I think, to all of us. So in terms of the collaboration, Mr. Meredith, I think that we are, going to take steps forward to ensure that we've got that good, solid relationship with the school board and the school administration, so that because we're spending taxpayer dollars, and that falls with us. And so as we work collaboratively to make good, informed decisions, that's where it's got to start. Okay, Mr. Carter, would you like to proceed with your monthly finance reports?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Madam Chair, members of the board, so we will try and speedily go through the finance report. But if you have questions, please feel free to stop me. So we are through February, and so 8 months of the fiscal year. As we've heard previously, we would expect to be roughly around 67% of the budget this year through this point in time in the year. So, and revenues are looking appropriate for the most part. A couple of things. are a little below, but a lot of that is timing. Things have been invoiced that maybe have not been received at this point. So overall, our revenue, though, is still at 69.1% as a total for our general fund, so where we would expect it to be a little ahead of that. Expenditures, likewise, are under a similar trajectory. We're at or below 67%. The only item that is above that is your transfers, and that would be anticipated. We usually transfer those school system debt, other funds during the year, so it's not a concern for us at this point. One thing that we'll mention again, I'll talk about a little bit later, is the funding from the county. And so if you notice, it's on this line here. We have approximately $7.9 million left to transfer to the school system for 5 months remaining in the fiscal year. There is absolutely no way that that money lasts for 5 more months. And so we'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. And so, but from a percentage standpoint, expenditures are looking good, but the expenditure budget is only as good as the revenue that you bring in. And if you don't bring in the revenue, you don't have enough to pay those bills. So to graphically break down a little bit of revenues, you can see again we're trending a little ahead for the month of February, which is a good sign. It's tight just given the peak that we receive in collections in November and December. For break it down by category, property taxes, you can see we have an increase. Roughly a little more than half of that increase is because of the Public Service Corporation taxes that we receive through Mountain Valley Pipeline. So that's a kind of a one-time increase that'll even out when we compare next year. So when we look at normal growth, we're probably $1 million and a half is what we're seeing in our property taxes. And so other local taxes, you can see barely some growth, and the same with state revenue. We're actually a little below state revenue through February than we were last year. Real estate tax, we are a little behind from where we were last year, but we are just 2.9% of the budget. We still had a better month or a decent month in February. I don't know that we're concerned at this point. I think what we are seeing on some of these is you continue to see some higher delinquent tax collections. So when we look at it overall, we're still okay from a totality of the budget. So again, we're marching toward that June 5th due date for the first half of real estate for the year, and that would be where you see the peaks in May and June. So personal property tax, it is a little below, almost $200,000 below year over year on actual, but you can see percent of budget, we're at 101%. So if you remember, we were anticipating adjusting personal property downward in order for the MVP to switch basically revenue categories. And so it looks like revenues of personal property came in stronger, and so that's a good sign for us, and that's helped us when we do our next year budget planning. So local sales tax, year over year, 155,000, 2.8% growth, which is solid. We are at 70% of the budget, so we are ahead of the budget, which is encouraging for this point in time of year. And of course, we have received the February tax collections. Well, the February receipt, which were for the December collections, your Christmas holiday shopping period. And so we're confident on where sales taxes are going at this point in time with our local economy. Meals tax saw another month, a little below for the month, but overall for the year, still 4.3%, about $46,000. And we are ahead of that benchmark we would anticipate of the budget. We're at 69% of budget. And as you can see, it's a seasonal tax, so we're going into the warmer months where we'd anticipate higher collections. Occupancy tax is the same. We had a good month in February of collection. So we're at 6.3% year over year, a little over $19,000, but well ahead of that 67% of budget we would anticipate. Expenditures, we have a high month in February, and so a little bit higher than we have. You can see that spike there, and the reason for that is the school transfer. So last year in February, we transferred about $1.5 million. This year, we transferred $3.8 million to the school system for operations. And so that's causing that differential in the peak, for the most part, other than just general inflationary items in the rest of the county budget. Categorically, to show, you can see slight increases across the categories. We would anticipate that for inflationary factors, personnel costs, maintenance service contracts, all of those things that never seem to go down. Health and welfare, we are seeing increases in CSA to be anticipated. given the higher case costs that we're seeing in some of our residential programs and group homes. Fund balance, so did want to show this to you, updated through the end of February. So if you remember, we have our peak collections in really June and December of every year, and then we spend down that balance for the other periods. So we factored in the $1.6 million in rollover requests that the board approved last month at staff's recommendation. Felt like those were reasonable projects and needed to move forward. When you take in the 20% policy minimum, we're about $10.5 million above the minimum on our unassigned fund balance. So you will probably see that go below $10 million for the end of March, April, May, but then April possibly, but then for May, you should see that pick up again as we start collecting first half taxes, real estate taxes. So just reserves, nothing has changed since prior month. Budget stabilization and capital reserve have been reduced for use of one-time capital needs or contributions. So just wanted to notate that for you on the slide. So I wanted to provide a little bit of an update. So we do have a slight increase in inflation for February, 2.4%. Core inflation's 2.5%. Still roughly a lot better than it has been, but still not at the 2% benchmark that the Federal Reserve is looking for. Unemployment did tick up 4.4% in February. Roughly 92,000 jobs were lost in the national economy. The Federal Reserve is meeting tomorrow for their March meeting, so we'll see if they change the rate. Given the volatility in some energy markets and world events, I do not know that rate will be reduced at this meeting. Likely would like to see some stability before they decide on that rebenchmarking. And so as a state budget update, General Assembly did adjourn this weekend. They did not have a completed budget. There's still a gap that is being worked out between the House and the Senate and the General Assembly. And so they're working towards, of course, the governor will consider certain bills, and then they are going to reconvene in special session April 23rd. And so, of course, what that does is that puts a delay from a locality standpoint of knowing what your numbers are, trying to adopt a budget. And the same thing for the school system, knowing what their numbers are, trying to get contracts out for teachers and all of those things that we would expect from them as well. So budget pressures, I think Madam Chair asked last time for unfunded mandates. And so I do not have numbers with these, but with what we've seen so far out of the General Assembly, these are items that will likely have an impact, explicit or implicit, to the county's operations. One has been well talked about, it's the LCI adjustment for the schools. One of the items that made it through the General Assembly right now is a cap on state reimbursement for CSA costs. They're going to only reimburse up to 2.5% increase for private day for next fiscal year, assuming this is signed by the governor, but it passed both houses of the General Assembly. So any provider that raises their rates over 2.5%, the locality would be 100% responsible for those. The other thing that they made it through the General Assembly is community-based services. The state is looking to essentially create a statewide rate for that as opposed to a more specific locality. Right now, what has been proposed will roughly double our community-based local match rate from 15% to 29%. And so what these things do is, of course, by putting those caps on there, those increases, it creates higher local match, which means we'll receive less state money, which will put a future budget pressure. CSA up until this past year has always been a sum sufficient. The state funds its portion, and what we're seeing is the state is not funding its portion, and it's pushing it to localities. The SNAP administrative costs, right now the state cost share is looking to pick up the locality piece, and it will be state funded. That is pushed down from the federal government. And so we'll continue to monitor that, but we're hopeful that will pass. That will be a less of a burden on the local budget, that we would not have to pick up that cost share. Paid family leave is a bill that is passed, and essentially you have FMLA. It allows 12 weeks of leave. It is not required to be paid. And so what happens when employees take that leave is they take their personal leave, their vacation leave, or their sick leave, and they use that time. It's not a separate leave bank that the county or the locality funds. The bill that is in the General Assembly is now there would be a statewide 12-week paid leave program. And so they would be able to, you still run it, from what I understand, concurrently with FMLA, but it would then be paid leave and it would not reduce employees' vacation or sick leave balances because it's a separate paid leave pot. More details will come out about that. Not sure all the details ins and out, but that's what it seems like I've read to this point. But that's a burden on the county because when you have staff out for paid leave, you have a loss of productivity. And you also have the high potential for abuse for using paid leave unnecessarily when it's a state guaranteed benefit. And so that comes at an implicit cost for county providing services. Minimum wage increase, that looks to be that it's going to pass, so it will go to $13.75 January 1st, 2027, and $15 January 1st, 2028. That we think we can absorb mostly the impact for the next fiscal year, 2027, that we'll be budgeting for. But 2028 fiscal year is going to have a significant impact, and there will be a high impact to the county budget to try and fix compression by a $15 minimum wage. And we think that'll need to be a high priority for us to do so to keep well-qualified staff. Collective bargaining is the elephant in the room. And so the state, the General Assembly so far has passed collective bargaining. It was previously passed to be an option for localities. The language currently is that it will be mandated for public sector employees that we will have to engage in collective bargaining. That will do nothing but increase costs for the county and the school system. So how we calculate that, we're not familiar in Virginia with collective bargaining and unions and how all of that works in most of our localities. It will be a learning process. But when we look to the 2028 budget, particularly, that's going to be a very high cost. It may not immediately, but it's going to be budget pressure for years to come, and a service delivery pressure. The other thing to make you aware of, because it's kind of flown under the radar, is there's still in the budget state-funded bonus payments that are to be funded, but they're to be funded in this fiscal year, in June. So we will either have to find a pot of money. It's either flat payments or it's going to be a percentage payment, whether it's state, school employees, or local state-supported employees. And so assuming what specific details pass the General Assembly, we'll bring that to you. If they're not reconvening till April, it likely will have to be the May meeting that we bring it to you, but we'll continue to update you. But that is, in this fiscal year, a cost that we had not planned for. And so that may be something we'll need to look at, because they only, of course, fund certain positions, and then if we provided the bonuses, we would have to fund the difference if we wanted to do it for all employees. Happened last year, they're doing it again to us this year. So school update, we're continuing to work with our counterparts on the 2026, the current fiscal year revenue. We're still not thinking state and federal revenue is going to be projected to meet the budget based on current data. Ms. Shawver provided some of that information to you, so we thank the school staff. They've been working diligently trying to gather information for us to assess and to analyze. But we're still not there from a confidence level to be able to tell you that we think we're going to meet budget. Mentioned the local transfer is too high. We're roughly 25 percentage points, a quarter of ahead of where we were this point in time last year in the transfer. Some of that looks to be delayed reimbursement, but I don't know that it's all of it. It doesn't appear to be all of it. And so I think that work will continue. As Ms. Shawver said, we wanted to get to a point of an assessment today, but we don't have enough data to really give you a projection to the end of the fiscal year, and that's what we'll be working on between now and your April meeting. Continue to work on that. I do think that there's likely to be a proposed budget reduction to the school system budget for the remainder of this fiscal year because of that state and federal revenue missing budget. And so what we don't want to arrive at is another situation to where the schools arrive at a negative cash position like they did this last year, and the county has to front them millions of dollars. And so we'll be working on that to make sure we get ahead of that. But it is concerning at this point just how high that transfer has been historically compared. And that's it, Madam Chair, so certainly be happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Are there any questions, comments from the board? Mr. Carter.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. On that day placement, Brian, those figures, Do you have an idea what percentage that's been increasing the last couple years? I know those companies they're unregulated, so they can charge whatever they want to, and I think from my work on DSS board, it looks to me like that keeps going up exponentially, continuously.
It does. We've seen a variety. I think last year or this year, last year's budget process, most of our rates stayed around that 2.5% cap. We do not anticipate they will this year. And so a lot of the rates go up 6, 7. 2 years prior, we would see double-digit increases. They were up 10, 12, 13%. And so when you put a cap on it at the state level, and now 100% of that cost is local, it has the potential to greatly increase our costs for next year. We don't know that yet. We do not have rate sheets from the vendors for next fiscal year yet, but I think it's a high probability that they will exceed that 2.5%.
Yeah, thank you.
And Mr. Carter, as a reminder, that's been one of our legislative priorities.
Right.
Rather, we need the General Assembly to set limits on what can be passed down to the localities. That's what needs to be capped, because there's unfettered access to the vendors to raise rates at whatever they deem appropriate. So again, it is new local dollars that are being required. It's not a want situation, they're required. Correct. And we've got to meet that task. Okay, so we're going to move on. Brian, we're 1 minute behind my schedule. So we have health insurance renewal.
Yes, ma'am.
As your last topic, sir.
I will just introduce, I mentioned to you last month we had a 10.2% increase. Mr. Gray Hooker, Senior Vice President with Pierce Group, is here to present the renewal, provide some options, answer questions. What we're looking for, of course, we have an estimate in our current budget that Mr. Sandy, of course, will propose. But we do need action by the board, if not this meeting, if your comfort level's not there this month, because we need to set those rates so that we can move forward with open enrollment that's coming the first 2 weeks of May. And our carrier one needs that information. We need to move forward. So certainly with that, would ask Mr. Hooker to come forward, and then we'll certainly supplement any additional questions you may have after.
Very good. Welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Madam Chair, members of the board, it's good to be back again. It's been almost a year since I was here last. Before I start with this short presentation about the renewal, I thought it would be helpful if the board heard what's going on globally in the United States with healthcare, health insurance. I've been doing this now for 34 years. This is the roughest and toughest renewal season that I've ever gone through. And it's for a lot of reasons, but the main reason that health renewals have gone up in the fully insured market especially, we had one come in at 40% for a locale. That is typical, is the drug cost. The specialty drug cost has gone through the roof. Those are all the drugs we see while we're trying to eat supper at night, and the jingles won't stop. And so there's a lot of things I'm going to talk about during the renewal process where the adjustments have been made to even the local choice plan in order to curb the cost of those drugs. Healthcare is expensive, but in my career, I've never seen a period where over the last 8 years, health insurance premiums have exactly doubled. And it's not going to be sustainable in not only the public sector, but even the private sector in the future. Here at Pierce Group, we only deal with public sector. We have now for 58 years. Budgets, I've been in more budget meetings this year than I have insurance meetings, so we certainly understand. So what you're going to see here today is a little bit about the methodology that the local choice uses. So if you remember, a year ago when I stood here, you made a good decision to leave the fully insured market where you were constantly getting 25% rate increases and go to the local choice in hopes of more stability because of the pooled plan. So a summary of local choice again, it's been around for over 40 years. The General Assembly established it. It is managed by the Department of Human Resource Management in Richmond. They set the rates, they set the rules, and there's over 375 public entities, school divisions, as well as city and county governments that participate, roughly 90,000 employees. So when your healthcare plan is shopped every year, it is as that big pool plan as if you are one of the largest employers in the state, which you obviously are. This past year, because of things like GLP-1s, drugs being used for weight loss, other specialty drugs, the local choice actually had one of their roughest health plan renewals in the last 40 years. The average increase for all of their groups, however, still stayed at 13.5%. The largest increase any entity got was 25%. The lowest was 7%. Believe it or not, those are the highest rates that I've seen come out with the local choice, but still, in comparison to what we're seeing in the fully insured market at 30 and 40 and 50% increases, it is much more palatable. So I encourage you to ask me any questions as I go through this, and I'll try to be brief in the interest of time. So this is a snapshot of exactly the renewal underwriting that we get from the local choice. The local choice is a large self-funded healthcare plan. And what I've always liked about the local choice is instead of you getting a fully insured quote that says, here's your rate increase, and not having a breakout of what those increases are paying for, with the local choice, you see where every dollar is being spent in your healthcare plan. So you see there at the top, number one, the income at current rates. That includes the county's contribution to the rates as well as the employees' payroll deductions. The income at current rates is $5,541,000. They're projecting your medical claims for the upcoming plan year that starts July 1st to be a little over $3.4 million. You actually pay for reinsurance premium. All the 375 groups pay that collectively. Your portion of that is a little over $584,000. They have a pooling limit of about $125,000 for any one claim. Because for a plan like this to be successful, you can't have $1 million claim completely wreck the plan. So they purchase reinsurance on your behalf to cover all of the money after that $125,000. The administrative charges that Anthem, as the TPA, is charging is a little over $247,000. The great thing about this plan as well is your dental cost and vision are embedded into this. So that saves you some money not having to have separate coverage for that. And it's capitated at the beginning of the plan year at just over $234,000. The drug capitation is extremely important in this environment. Your drug spend is capped at $1,514,000. If it ends up being $3 million, it's still capped for this locale at just over $1.5 million. That is a key protection inside of the local choice you do not get when you are either fully insured or self-funded on your own. The contingency fee is basically the fee that DHRM charges to manage the plan and also to set up a reserve, and that's a little over $115,000. So your total income requirement for the upcoming year is $6,105,549, which equates to about a 10.2% increase. At Pierce Group, we manage all kinds of health plans. We are the largest manager of the local choice plans doing business in the state of Virginia, but we have a lot of plans that are self-funded on their own, and a heck of a lot of fully insured plans that are getting hammered. The average fully insured renewal that we have received so far this year has been 33.5%. So in this environment, 10.2 is very good. And the real reason I heard inflation used a lot in the last presentation, medical inflation now has creeped back up to about 12% nationwide. But pharmacy inflation has hit 17%, which is an all-time high. So although 10% is real money, it does beat the market when we look at results elsewhere.
Could I ask a question on that,
Yes.
on the prior slide? So I'm very supportive of this plan and the decision we made to go with this plan. However, I have a question, just based on my memory. I was thinking that our increase per year was a combination of our experience, our claims experience, plus the claims experience of the pool, and there was actually a formula. So our claims experience times a percent plus the pool claims experience times a percent would figure out your total percent for the year. Your prior slide seems to show that it's just our claims experience that goes into determining our rate, because I think ours is going up to 10.2%, right?
It is, and if you, wait a minute, let me go back to that slide now. Let's see. So there is a, in your size of group, only 29% of your actual claims experience goes into underwriting this. So they take that 29% of the pool, and it varies for very, very small groups under 100. It's 100% the pool. You're in the third category, which is 250 to 499 employees that are covered on your plan. And so 29%, roughly a little less than a third of your own experience in any given year is going to go toward underwriting this plan. And you'll see in years, and there's another factor also, there's weighting that's separate on 60-40. On your current plan is normally 60% of the renewal, 40 is the prior year. Since you're in the first year with the local choice, that piece of it is not factored in. But the 29% of your own claims experience is. We don't get that exact data until you have completed your first year. And then starting in July 1st, we will get the full set of data that we need to do quarterly reviews and whatnot with your staff so that you can see that impact of blending on a year-over-year basis.
So 29% of our increase is due to our local claims, and then 71% is based on the claim experience of the pool. Is that right?
No, it's actually reversed. So 29% is the pool, and then there's the impact of the 60-40 split in one year to the other. Mm-hmm. At the local choice, they use a 24-month rolling experience, and you don't have that yet. And so you'll really see the impact of that blending once we get past that 24-month period. My estimation as a former underwriter is that this is much more based on the pool than it is in your first year experience, because when this was underwritten, they had less than 6 months of experience to underwrite your plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't think we ever really got the answer Dan was after there. So 29% of it is coming from
the pool.
The pool.
Correct.
Where is the other 71%?
71% is going to be your claims experience, and it's going to be, as I said earlier, split between the current year that you're in the future and the previous year. So it's 60% of your current year and 40% of the previous year. So those are the three elements in your size of group.
So where are they getting the numbers for the year that they don't have that data yet?
As I said, it's mainly based on the pool for this first year, and they'll look at your full insured plan that you had previously, but that doesn't carry nearly the weight. This is more of a manually underwritten plan for the first year based on the pool, and the pool average was 13.5%, and you actually got a little bit of a break on that.
So did the claim experience of the pool this year help us or hurt us? I'm just curious.
It helped you.
It helped us because
tremendously.
Because the pool they had a lower claims experience than our local claims experience.
That's correct. If you see down at the bottom, you'll see that their annual medical trend, which is inflation within this plan, was 7.9%, when nationally it's at 12% for medical and about 17% and that's down at the bottom in those three categories there, 7.9%. And I've seen the local choice be in the sixes for their inflation. This is the highest I've seen theirs, and still it's a full 4 points below the national average. I also like to always show the plan design changes. That's what employees look at. So currently you offer two plans. It's a PPO plan with a $1,000 deductible. Family deductible is $2,000. Individual out of pocket is $5,000, and the family out of pocket maximum is $10,000. And it's an 80-20 plan, just a basic PPO plan. And then you have a high deductible plan. The high deductible plan for this current year that we're in is $3,300 for the individual, $6,600 for the family, with a $6,900 individual out-of-pocket maximum, and family is $10,000. If you look to the right of those two columns, this shows you the changes this year in the local choice plan, and there aren't many. The change in the high deductible, they're all shaded. The change in the high deductible plan from $3,300 to $3,400 is an IRS mandated change. They have a minimum deductible that they require every year to qualify as a high deductible plan that is then eligible for an HSA account, health spending account. Same goes for the family. It's going up $200 to $6,800, and the out-of-pocket maximums are staying the same. On the PPO plan, which still has you have the most participation in, you'll see it's actually an improvement in the out-of-pocket maximum. It's actually being reduced from $10,000 to $9,000. And all the other changes are in that drug coverage that I mentioned earlier, which is where really all of the cost exploded for them this year. For the first time ever, they are putting a small individual and family deductible on the drug plan before payment is made of $150 for the individual, $300 for the family. And then there was a slight change in the drug formulary on the Tier 4 drugs to have the 20% copay only apply up to $200. Believe it or not, over that many people and that many family members, it will mitigate costs tremendously. These changes, along with the fact that they have elected to no longer cover GLP-1 drugs for weight loss only, but continue for diabetes, it lowered this overall renewal by 7%. Not yours, but the TLC as a group. So it was, no one else was covered it in Virginia. Anthem Direct didn't cover it. The self-funded plans didn't cover it. And so they made that election, which is going to really stabilize their costs moving forward, I do believe. Let's see.
Quick question on, is there a pass-through on that high deductible, high payment? I didn't see one.
What
A
now?
pass-through? I know a lot of your HDHP plans have a pass-through.
No, there is
You
not.
you don't offer it through it, okay, thank you.
So we have modeled three different contribution strategies for you, as was requested by staff. This first model, at the top is your current rates, and at the bottom are the rates based on the model that we've done for you. And this first one is considering the county taking 100% of the increase in the contribution strategy. If you look down at the bottom, that would increase the budget number for the increase to just a little over $650,000. Then we were asked to also do an increase of just changing the increase to the employees of the $1,000 deductible PPO plan and leaving the rates the same on a high deductible health plan. This is twofold. Obviously, it's going to lessen the budget number. It would lower that thing from $650 down to $553,000, so it's almost $100,000 in savings, but a minimal impact to the employees. And then the second reason this is a good idea is to encourage more people to join the high deductible health plan. That is the trend across the nation. It's the trend here in Virginia. We have one of our clients not far from here. That's a city and schools together, and the high deductible plan is the only plan they've had for years. The third thing that I would tell you is because we do manage most of your neighbors in this general area in Southwest Virginia, your employees are getting a really good deal on especially dependent coverage. It is rare anymore that I see family coverage, full family coverage, anywhere below $900. And many of our clients have family coverage well over $1,000, and it's getting unaffordable. You folks have done a great job at continuing to make this affordable for your employees, so a slight adjustment might be appropriate. Also, I'm a big believer in incremental increases to employee cost, so you don't get that whammy one year and you have to pass on a 25% increase. While I was sitting back here a few minutes ago, I got an email from one of our school division clients here in Virginia that wants this modeling because their budget's so tight for the employees to take the entire increase. And unfortunately, I'm seeing that request more and more. So this is a very palatable option, I believe. And the next one would be an 85-15 split. You'll see down at the bottom the same illustration. You would go from $553,000 to about $493,000 in the budget, so roughly about $60,000 in savings, but it would be a bigger impact to your employees. But we were asked to also model this just in case the board decides that the employees should take on more of the cost. And now I'll pause for any further questions you might have. And I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. Your presentation was excellent.
Well, thank you.
You can take a very complex topic and make it understandable.
Well, I'm just a country boy, man, and all my family's from here in Southwest Virginia. So I just try to, we're not smarter than anybody else. We just try to work harder.
Well, thank you.
And I assure you, in the future, if there are developments in healthcare plans and there are better options out there, that we're going to bring them to the table. I do want to address one thing before, if you don't mind, because I think I was asked this last year. If you ever want to get out of the local choice, what are the rules? And of course, we are doing that exercise for one of our groups in Virginia right now, a big school division. They do have what's called an adverse experience adjustment if someone leaves. And the reason is, it's pretty simple to explain. These self-funded pool plans, if a large group were to leave, the revenue to that plan stops immediately. But the liability to the plan can continue on for 5, 6, 7, even 9 months in terms of claims that had not been paid yet. Right. So they do an adjustment. It's a calculation based on your adverse experience, because most people don't want to get out of this thing unless they're getting a big increase. The one that didn't want to look at it this year had a 23.5% increase. We get it. But it's still advantageous because their best fully insured quote was 40% over current. So they're staying. But there is that fee. And a lot of boards will ask me, how do we get ready for that? Well, what I would suggest is that there be some amount of money put aside on an annual basis. We can do some of these calculations, not this year because we don't have the data, but next year, so the county can be prepared if you ever say, okay, there's a better deal out of here and we want to get out of this thing. Because it could be well over between $500,000 and $1 million to get out. The other rule in getting out of TLC is you can't get back in for 3 years. That's also to protect these situations where people go in and out and in and out and in and out of the plan, which causes instability. Those two rules actually have made the local choice stick around for over 40 years. And I did want to add that. It was requested of me to make sure the board was aware of that.
Thank you so much.
Right.
I'll open up the floor to supervisors for any questions, concerns, thoughts.
Madam Chair, just getting all this, we have to have this done by April, next board meeting, correct?
Yes.
I would say with the information we got and the different effects, this might be something we want to table and look at more and see which avenue we want to go considering budget.
Okay.
Determine how much, that's just my opinion. I just think that gives us a little more time to dig into the numbers and the effect it have on the employees and also our budget.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith, and I'll defer to the rest of the board and may ask you for a motion. Any thoughts that differ?
Madam Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before we move on from that question, I mentioned earlier at the start of the presentation, so the TLC has to have the renewal paperwork by April 1st, which is why we need a decision in March. Now, we can punt a decision to one of our 2 work sessions, but, we just received this in order to get it to the board, so I appreciate that we need more time to look at it, but we don't have that time. In order to renew, we have to make a decision and turn that paperwork in to the program by April 1st. And enrollment starts May 1st, so that only gives 30 days to get all of those plans moving. So we have a couple work sessions Mr. Sandy mentioned, of course, the 19th and 24th. Certainly, we can provide additional information to answer board comments, but we can't wait until the April 21st board meeting. Just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Quinn.
I think that we can divide this into 2 decisions. So one, are you staying with TLC, yes or no? And the second is, what will the employee county share be? And it feels like tonight we could make a decision, yes, we're staying with TLC. And then to Mike's point, we wait until the budget session to decide what the split will be.
Yes, that would suffice, yes.
Mr. Carter?
The cost to the employees, if my math is right, it's going to amount to what, about $100,000 or $97,000?
Depending on the option that you take, yes, sir.
Okay, anything else? Okay, is there a motion that someone would like to make to move this issue along?